Imagine this. You're in a high-stakes negotiation. It could be a job offer, a business deal, or even convincing someone to see things your way. What's your first move?
Most people either argue or compromise, and both are mistakes, because the moment you split the difference, you've already lost.
Wait, so meeting in the middle isn't the right move?
Not if you want the best outcome. In his book, Never Split the Difference, Chris Voss, an ex-FBI hostage negotiator, reveals that the real secret to winning any negotiation isn't aggression or compromise. It's tactical empathy, psychological control, and making the other side feel like they're in charge when they're really not.
All right, now I'm interested. Where do we start? So, what's the first principle?
It's called mirroring. And no, it's not about copying someone's body language. It's way simpler and more powerful than that.
Mirroring, like repeating what the other person says?
Exactly. But you don't repeat the whole sentence, just the last few words or the key part. It makes the other person feel heard, keeps them talking, and gets them to reveal more information without even realizing it.
That sounds too simple. Does it really work?
It works brilliantly. Chris Voss used it in high-stakes hostage negotiations, and it's just as effective in business, relationships, and everyday conversations.
Give me a real example.
All right, let's say you're negotiating a salary. Your boss says, "We can't go higher than $70,000. Instead of arguing, you simply mirror, "You can't go higher than $70,000. Now, watch what happens. Most people feel compelled to explain themselves when you mirror them. Your boss might say, "Yeah, because of budget restrictions." Then you mirror again, "budget restrictions." Now, they start revealing more. Maybe they mention that other departments got raises, or that they could offer a bonus instead. Suddenly, you're gathering intel without sounding aggressive.
So, it forces them to justify their position, and in doing so, they might reveal weaknesses?
Exactly. People hate silence, and when you mirror, they instinctively fill in the gaps. It makes them feel like you understand them, and the more they talk, the more control you gain over the conversation.
Okay, but wouldn't people notice if I just keep repeating their words?
Not if you do it naturally. The key is to say it like a question, with a slight upward tone. And don't overuse it, just sprinkle it in.
All right, but how would this work in, say, a business deal?
Let's say you're negotiating a contract with a vendor. They say, "We can't lower the price because of supply costs." Instead of pushing back, you mirror supply costs ? Now, they'll start explaining, maybe even revealing that some costs are flexible or that they've given discounts before. That's your opening to negotiate.
I can see how this makes them feel comfortable, like they're leading the conversation, when in reality, I'm guiding them to where I want.
Bingo! Mirroring is low effort, high reward. It makes people feel heard, lowers their defenses, and gets them to spill valuable information.
All right, I'm convinced. What's the next principle?
Labeling. It's like mirroring, but with a twist. You identify and name the other person's emotions to build trust and steer the conversation.
So, instead of repeating their words, you describe how they feel?
Exactly. Chris Voss calls it tactical empathy. When you label someone's emotions, they feel understood, and that makes them more likely to cooperate.
Give me an example.
Let's say you're negotiating a business deal, and the other side seems hesitant. Instead of pushing them, you label what's happening by saying, "It seems like you have some concerns about this offer."
And then what?
You pause and let them respond. Most people will open up and explain what's bothering them. Now, instead of guessing or arguing, you get straight to the real issue.
So, instead of saying, "Why are you hesitating?" then I say, "It seems like you have concerns."
Yes, because labels feel less confrontational. It's not an accusation, it's an observation. And even if you're wrong, the other person will usually correct you. Either way, you get more information.
Does this work outside of negotiations?
Absolutely. Imagine your friend is upset but won't say why. Instead of asking, "What's wrong?" which might make them defensive, you say,
So, the key is to start with, "It seems like," or "It looks like," instead of asking direct questions.
Yes, you're not telling them how they feel. You're just making an observation, and silence is your best friend. After labeling, stop talking and let them respond.
Okay, this makes sense. What if they get defensive?
That's the beauty of it. Labeling lowers defenses. Even if they push back, they're still engaging with you. And that's an opportunity to guide the conversation.
I like it. It's subtle but powerful. What's next?
Tactical empathy. It is a game changer. It's not just about understanding emotions. It's about actively using that understanding to guide the conversation.
So it's more than just, I feel your pain?
Way more. Most people think empathy is just being nice or agreeing with someone, but in negotiation, it's about seeing the world from their perspective and using that knowledge strategically.
Give me an example.
Imagine you're negotiating a salary. Instead of just saying, I deserve more money, you use tactical empathy.
Oh, so instead of demanding more, you acknowledge their situation first?
Exactly. When people feel understood, they drop their guard and become more open to discussion. Chris Voss used this in hostage negotiations. Instead of saying, let the hostage go, he would say,
That's powerful. It makes them feel like he's on their side.
exactly. And once they feel understood, they stop seeing him as the enemy, which makes them more willing to negotiate.
So, in any conversation, I should state the other person's feelings before making my point?
Yes. Let's say you're dealing with an angry customer. Instead of saying, calm down, which never works, you say,
And then what?
silence. Let them respond. You'd be surprised how often just acknowledging their emotions makes them relax. Once they feel heard, you can start solving the problem.
So tactical empathy is like labeling, but deeper. You're not just repeating what they say. You're showing that you understand what they're feeling.
Exactly. It's about building trust fast. Whether it's a business deal, a tough conversation, or even persuading someone to see things your way, the moment they feel you understand them, they stop resisting.
All right, what's next?
Now we get into the accusation audit. This is all about tackling objections before the other person even brings them up.
You mean like predicting their concerns?
Exactly. When people have doubts or objections, they hold on to them tightly. But if you bring those objections up first, it actually disarms them.
How does that work?
Let's say you're negotiating a price with a client. Instead of waiting for them to say, this is too expensive, you say it first.
Wouldn't that make them agree with you?
Surprisingly, no. It actually takes the sting out of their objection. They start feeling like you understand them, and that lowers their resistance. Instead of pushing back, they're more likely to engage in a real conversation.
So by calling out the objections first, you take away their power?
Exactly. It's like stealing their argument before they even get a chance to use it. Chris Voss used this technique in hostage negotiations all the time. He would say things like, I know you probably think we don't care about your demands. That would instantly soften the other side, making them more open to discussion.
Smart. What's next?
Now we get into the power of no. It's one of the most counterintuitive negotiation strategies, but it works like magic.
Isn't getting a yes the whole point of negotiation?
That's what most people think. But here's the trick. When people say yes, they often feel trapped, like they're being pushed into something. But when they say no, they feel in control.
So, you want them to reject you?
Not exactly. You guide them towards saying no in a way that benefits you. For example, let's say you're following up on a job offer. Instead of asking, is now a good time to talk, which pressures them to say yes, you ask, is this a bad time to talk?
And they'd probably say, no, it's fine.
Exactly. And now they feel like they made the choice to continue the conversation.
Sneaky, but does this work in big negotiations?
Absolutely. Chris Voss used this in hostage situations. Instead of asking, can we talk? He'd say, have you given up on finding a peaceful resolution?
Whoa, if they say no, they're actually agreeing to negotiate.
Exactly. It lowers their defenses and puts them in a mindset where they feel safe to continue.
What's next?
Now, let's talk about the illusion of control. This is about steering the conversation while making the other person feel like they're in charge.
How do you do that?
By using calibrated questions. Questions that start with how or what. These force the other person to think and engage with you.
Like what?
Instead of saying, you need to lower the price, you ask, how am I supposed to afford that? Now, they have to come up with a solution.
So instead of demanding something, you make them work through the problem for you?
Exactly. Chris Voss calls this gentle manipulation. In a kidnapping case, he wouldn't say, "You need to release the hostage." He'd ask, "What do you hope to achieve by keeping them?" That forces them to justify their actions and opens the door for negotiation.
So they feel in control, but really you're leading the conversation?
That's the beauty of it. The best negotiators don't argue, they guide.
What's next?
Now, let's talk about the 738-55 rule. This principle, based on research by Albert Mehrabian, says that in communication—
Wait, so the words matter the least?
Exactly. People respond more to how you say something than what you say. In negotiations, your tone and body language can make or break a deal.
So even if I say the right things, if my tone is off, it won't work.
Right. Imagine someone saying, "Sure, I'll do that," but in a bored, dismissive tone. You wouldn't believe them, right?
No way, it'd sound like they don't care.
Exactly. That's why top negotiators control their tone. A downward, calm tone signals confidence. A light, upward tone makes people feel safe.
And body language?
Mirroring is huge. If someone leans in, you lean in slightly. If they nod, you nod. It builds subconscious trust.
So, to be a better negotiator, I need to focus on my tone and body language more than the words?
Exactly. People may forget what you say, but they won't forget how you made them feel.
What's next?
Now, let's talk about bending reality. This principle is about shifting the way people see a deal through deadlines, loss aversion, and perceived fairness.
Sounds like psychology.
It is. Humans fear losing something more than they desire gaining something. That's why limited time offers work so well.
So creating urgency makes people act?
Exactly. If you're negotiating a job offer, instead of saying, "I need an answer soon," you say, "I have another offer, but I'd love to work with you. Can we finalize this by Friday?"
Now they feel like they might lose you if they don't act.
Right. Loss aversion kicks in, making them more likely to agree. Chris Voss used this in hostage negotiations too. Instead of demanding, "Release the hostage now," he'd say, "If this drags on, the authorities may take control, and things could get unpredictable."
That makes them feel like they might lose their leverage if they don't act fast.
Exactly. The key to bending reality is creating a scenario where not acting feels riskier than acting.
What's next?
All right, now we reach the black swan theory. This is the most powerful tool in negotiation because it's about uncovering hidden information.
Hidden information?
Yes. A black swan is a piece of knowledge that completely changes the situation. In any negotiation, there's something you don't know that could shift the balance in your favor.
How do you find it?
By listening beyond the words. Asking calibrated questions like, "What challenges are you facing right now?" Or, "How does this deal impact you personally?" can reveal game-changing details.
You mean things they didn't plan to tell you?
Exactly. Chris Voss used this when negotiating with kidnappers. Instead of focusing just on money, he'd dig deeper. Why did you take this person? Sometimes the kidnappers weren't professionals, but desperate people in over their heads. Knowing that changed the entire strategy.
So, every negotiation has hidden leverage. You just have to find it?
That's the key. If you can uncover the black swan, you shift the power dynamic in your favor.
That's crazy. So, mastering negotiation isn't just about talking. It's about listening and uncovering what's beneath the surface?
Exactly. The best negotiators listen more than they speak.
Got it. That was the last principle, right?
Yep, that wraps it up.
This changes the way I think about negotiation. What now?
Now, we take these skills and start using them in real life. Because trust me, whether you realize it or not, you're negotiating every single day.
This was eye-opening, Johnson. These tactics make so much sense, and I can see how they apply everywhere. Appreciate you breaking it all down.
So, there you have it. The most powerful negotiation principles from Never Split the Difference. These aren't just theories. They're real-world tactics used in hostage situations, business deals, and everyday life. Whether you're negotiating a salary, closing a deal, or just convincing someone to see things your way, these techniques can give you the upper hand. The key? Listen more than you speak. Ask the right questions. Control the conversation without making the other person feel controlled. If you found this valuable, hit that like button and let me know in the comments. Which of these principles do you think will help you the most? And if you haven't already, subscribe for more deep dives into powerful books like this one. Remember, life is a negotiation. The better you are at it, the more control you have over your future. See you in the next one.
Subscribe for more content.